A little something to uplift your spirit. Turn your radios all the way up. Roll your windows down.
Can't wear me down.
Yeah.
I'm moving on. You can dim my light. You can pray for my downfall every night. Yeah. See, this truth makes me high. I'm a rocket till I die. I take my wings and fly high. You can't wear me down. This lonely road is very long. I pray Yahweh keeps me strong. Cause with him there can be no wrong. You can't wear me down.
See, I could fall or drown in self-doubt, or stand on my feet and pull myself out. If I was weak, I'd throw the towel in easily, or take a second look to see what life is teaching me, and embrace it boldly. No rush, I take it slowly. If I go off the path, then I pray he show me. I was blessed with talents, and I accept the challenge. Life's a tightrope walk, somehow I kept it balanced. And when they tried to wear me, I knew that y'all would spare me. I kept the law, I'm not sure that some of y'all could hear me, but I'm not surprised. Failure is not advised. Can't walk a mile in my shoes, my man, they're not your size. Take these words and share it, go let your mother hear it. If he's down, hook a song can lift a brother's spirit. And to the precious sisters, music was made to lift us. Touch our spirit at times if it's based in scriptures. And never say that your hope is done. Your faith is built every obstacle you overcome. Count your blessings, cause life is a precious gift. Praise to Yahweh and the greatest king that ever lived, Yahweh Shai.
See, this truth makes me high. I'm a rocket till I die. I take my wings and fly high. You can't wear me down. This lonely road is very long. I pray Yahweh keeps me strong. Cause with him there can be no wrong. You can't wear me down. Ooh, yeah. Wear me down.
A little
I don't believe in God. It doesn't matter. He believes in you.
I absolutely believe in God. Let me tell you why. True story. They say I act like my mother's son. That's what Mount Vernon was the streets that I love to run. Found myself on the wrong side of someone's gun. Breathing hard, but I made it. Damn right, I believe in God.
Every time I try to get out the game, it's like somebody keeps pulling me back in. They don't want me to leave. Can't leave rap alone, the game needs me. I try to get out this game, it ain't easy. It's what they're telling me, but I don't know because this game is full of jealousy. I can't leave rap alone, the game needs me. I try to get out this game, it ain't easy. Is what they're telling me, but I don't know because this game is full of jealousy. Rap is dead, it's too late to restore its true state. MCs are too fake because truth's the new hate. Rare, nobody's rhymes are potent. For those whose eyes are open, can see the game is full of liars and these liar Cohens. Now that's an omen-omer, that means a name sign. How they claim that they woke but sleep the same time. How they claim that they flow but they not impressive. How they claim rap evolved, they ain't no fossil records. But they push that, and so I push back and reminisce about the days when they made good rap. And the beats were fire, had to adjust the volume. Now you gotta mumble or sell a couple thousand. Yup, the game has changed, there ain't no standards. You gotta wear tight jeans and rock a man purse. But I'm killing them up in my street clothes. Second verse, watch, I'll drop the cheat code. Can't leave rap alone, the game needs me. I try to get out this game, it ain't easy. It's what they're telling me, but I don't know because this game is full of jealousy. I can't leave rap alone, the game needs me. I try to get out this game, it ain't easy. is what they're telling me. But I don't know because this game is full of jealousy. And I don't mean to sound boastful, but when she sings, she make it sound so soulful. So I made an anthem for my corner vest. These verses ain't my single, they're just my warm-up sets. I praise Yahweh on the psaltery. I sacrifice, so don't think that you can alter me. Get a sacrifice, and I said all to me. Misunderstood, they speaking Paul to me. And switch my style from random gun lines to knowledge top with a slight sprinkle of punchlines. And I'm not ashamed, I tell them we don't care. Flow is tight like outfits that Migos wear. And you know that that isn't right. In the dark, what good is a hidden light? And the end is near, so we sent the fishes. And I speak the truth because I know the scriptures. The game needs me. I can't leave the game alone, y'all. The game needs me. They keep pulling me back in. Can't leave rap alone, the game needs me. I try to get out this game, it ain't easy. The game needs me. It really, really needs me.
Well, all right, then. Shalom, shalom. Brothers and sisters, shalom. Welcome to another edition of the Lions of Israel. It's your brother, Priest Danyaahla, represent Lions of Israel. Maccabeestv. I want to say peace and blessings. I want to say shalom to everybody that's listening. Hopefully this message in this day finds everybody in good health. And relatively good health, as much as we can be in this captivity. And of course, hopefully this day catches everybody in good spirits. All right, so we have a lot to cover today. I always say that, but it's true. I say it because it's true. We have a lot to cover today. So let me just go ahead and give my greeting real quick to all my brothers and sisters that's tuning in now and those that'll be tuning in later. Shout out to everybody that's watching on the Lions of Israel class page on YouTube. Make sure you guys like the video. Make sure you guys drop something in the chat, say shaloms, whatever you got to say. Ashar Shabbat, happy Sabbath. Let's just trigger the algorithm. Same thing goes for my brothers and sisters that watch the video on Maccabeestv. You brothers and sisters can thank How Music because I was not doing my Sabbath classes on this channel at all. And of course, I got some counsel from one of my trusted brothers that told me that's not right. Because some people just don't subscribe to the other channel. You should be doing it on both. And so I received that counsel in the spirit that was given. And you guys have seen for the last couple of months, I've been doing my classes here too. So shout out to you. Same thing. Make sure you guys hit the like button. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel if you're not. And of course, share this with your loved ones. This is going to be an interesting one. Some of the information here might be new to a lot of people. So, and some of it to some people is just going to refresh your memory on some things. Okay, so this might be something you'll be able to show your family members, friends, so forth and so on, that may be on the fence when it comes to the Bible because of the very things that we are going to discuss today. They might be on the fence. So we're going to help them down off the fence if it be the Most High as well. All right. Of course, Messiah TV goes without saying. Shalom to everybody that's watching over there. Again, as always, I can't say enough. Thank you to Brother Messiah for offering his platform to us so that we can actually broadcast into people's homes. And they might be watching something else, scrolling through the channels, looking for something else, and they come across this video, and now they're intrigued. And last but not least, my Clubhouse family, you guys already know how we do. If there's audio issues, the link is at the top of the room. Today's lesson is highly visual. Some lessons are not highly visual. Today's lesson is highly visual. So, of course, I invite my brothers and sisters on Clubhouse to feel free to click the link at the top of the room and come on over so you guys can watch the PowerPoint as I'm going to be bringing forth a lot of information today. Out the gate. So I advise you, brothers and sisters, if you're able to come over and watch the video on YouTube. But if not, that's fine. Just sit here and listen, and maybe you can watch it later at your convenience. And be sure, guys, if you're on Clubhouse, to share the room and ping people into the room as well. Because, again, this is a topic that will be new to a lot of people. And also, you might know people. I'm pretty certain everyone knows somebody that's on the fence when it comes to the Bible concerning some of the things we're going to discuss today. So you guys already know how we do. Demonstration beats conversation. So we're going to do our best to demonstrate some things to try to help some of our brothers and sisters that are on the fence when it comes to the Bible. I got a lot to talk about, so I think that was enough time for me to give my introduction. And we're going to go right and dive headlong right into the information. So we're going to go ahead and share the screen. Give me 1 second. Let's see here. I got a bunch of things going on. I'm kind of, there we go. Okay. I'm going to share the entire screen. And all right, that I'm going to make sure that you guys are just looking at, you guys don't want to see me. Like, we don't want to see you, brother. We want to see the information. Okay, no problem. I got y'all. I got y'all. So, all right, here we go. So this is, I always talk about, by the way, let me just do this real quick. I apologize. Let me stop sharing my screen for 1 second. I want to get the banner from the bottom of the screen. So I'm going to stop sharing for 1 second. My apologies. I want to remove the banner so you guys can fully see what's happening with the PowerPoint. So let me go ahead now and share my screen again. Okay, guys. All right. So as I mentioned, there's a lot to talk about today, right? So as I always mention every week, our camp has an academy. I've done 3 of them within the last 2 years. Each academy is 6 months. And I teach a lot of stuff in the academy. I go a lot deeper. Right now, I exaggerate not. I can actually share that screen if you don't believe me. I have about 400 PowerPoints that I've put together over the last 2 years. That's why I don't really have no time between that, my personal life, my job, and overseeing a congregation. I don't have a life, right? So, and part of that was putting together PowerPoints. Why? Because I understand that demonstration, these conversations, I understand our people are highly visual. And so I understand that a lot of times, a lot of our people, in this truth, regurgitate things, which we're going to talk about that today. You're a parrot, right? Until somebody presses you on some information, then you're leaving the truth because this is not the truth anymore and you don't believe, right? So I've spent the last 2 years putting together demonstrable lessons, right? And that doesn't take away from anybody else that doesn't teach the way I teach, but I put together demonstrable lessons to show you, to demonstrate to you that what we teach is the truth. We're not. It's not just a motto. It's not just something we're saying. We can demonstrate it for the most part, and so that's why I've done it, right? And so I started off doing these PowerPoints strictly for my academies, right? For the new people that wanted to join the camp, I wanted to prepare them for what would be ahead, the questions they would be asked, and how to respond to certain things, right? But as I began to start doing my Sabbath lessons online, I realized that, and I come into the rooms on Clubhouse and we have these conversations every day and so forth. I realized that everybody's not going to join the academy. Everybody's not really, some brothers and sisters are already in congregations, but they still learn from me, right? So I need to share this information as much as I can with everybody. So I don't always give you guys all my academy lessons, but every now and then, some of them will spill over to our Sabbath classes. Why? Because these things are important. So we're in a fight on so many fronts when it comes to this truth. We're in a fight, right? First of all, sadly, as Israelites, we fight amongst ourselves. I'll just leave that there. I got nothing else to say about that. And no, I'm not going to say nothing else about it. I'm not. You know what I'm saying? I'm here to teach. That's what the Most High called me to do, to teach, and that's what I'm going to do. It's just that simple. But we're fighting against each other, right? Then you have those of our people that don't believe in the Bible. We're fighting against them. Then you have the Christian apologists, which is the other nations. We're fighting against them. Then we're fighting against the so-called scientific community, which is what we're going to talk about today. We're fighting against them. And then, of course, we're fighting against the alphabet people as well. And, of course, we're fighting against the small hat community as well. And so many other, everybody hates the Israelites. Everybody. We have so many battles on so many fronts, right? Today's lesson is going to focus on one of these fronts that we battle on. And one of the battles that we're having is that there is a push amongst, I call them the fake woke, fake knowledgeable conscious community. And one of their attacks on the Bible is to say that we as Bible believers are anti-science. That's what they say. They also say that the Bible is anti-science. Now, I'm not going to get too deep into those arguments today, but I am going to touch the surface on one particular argument today. And the reason why I do that is There are a lot of stumbling blocks in front of our people when it comes to understanding the Bible. And we know the Bible, our Bible starts in the book of Genesis. There's a lot of stumbling blocks in front of our people. So what I did in the academy before I did my breakdown, and by the way, I didn't do, some of you brothers that are listening, you were in the third academy, and I didn't do this lesson then, so this is y'all first time seeing it too. But I did do this in the second academy, right? But that's neither here nor there, right? What I aim to do is, I tell people all the time, before I open up Genesis chapter 1 and start reading that, I have to take into consideration the world I live in. Most of our people think the Bible is made up and it's a fairy tale. They don't believe in Genesis chapter 1. They believe it's anti-science, right? So what we have to do is we have to not run away from, we have to walk directly to these arguments that they make and deconstruct them. And if we deconstruct these arguments effectively, I'm not telling you that we're going to reach everybody, because everybody's not God's elect. The Most High has an elect, right? If we deconstruct these preconceived notions that they have, some of these brothers and sisters may eventually come into the truth because that stumbling block was removed. I'm a perfect example of that. Some of you guys know, many of you guys don't know. Prior to me being in the truth as an Israelite, I was a 5%er. And there was a bunch of stumbling blocks in front of me. How did I become that? Listening to the rappers of my day, right? It was the popular thing to do, right? I was against the church and all that stuff like that. The way that, we were portrayed in the church, the whole thing, I was against that. Ran right to the 5% nation, the nation of gods and earths, right? And so there's a certain dogma that they teach against the Bible. The Bible is the white man's book. Everybody in the Bible was white. King James was white. The Bible contradicts itself. The Bible this, the Bible that. I had all those stumbling blocks, and ran into a brother that brought me to the school. I ain't going to get into my whole testimony today. And guess what? I sat underneath the elders, and one by one, those stumbling blocks were removed. Because all I wanted to do was to know. And they demonstrated to me that those things that I was saying were fake. And I had no choice but to yield to it, because the Most High had a purpose for me. It's not going to be that way with everybody that you show this stuff to. But the purpose of us doing this lesson is for those who maybe of God's elect to have stumbling blocks in front of them. The way that we had stumbling blocks before we came into the truth, is our job to present the information so God's elect can have those stumbling blocks removed and they can come into the truth. Now enough talking. Somebody's like, okay, we get it. Get into the lesson. All right, fine. All right, fine. Let's get into the PowerPoint. Again, you guys on Clubhouse, this video is highly visual. You might want to click the link at the top of the room. Okay, so the name of the lesson is called Genesis chapter 1, part 1, the preview, meaning before we get into the book of Genesis chapter 1, we got to have some conversations first. You have to have some conversations first. Let's go. Okay, let's start with the book of Hebrews chapter 11, verse 1. This is for us believers. It says, now, faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. That's very important. The evidence of things not seen. We're going to come back to that shortly. Let's keep reading. For by it, the elders obtained a good report. Through faith, we understand that the worlds were framed by the words of God, so that things which are seen were not made of things which do appear. Now, did we observe the creation? Any of us walking the earth today? Is anybody on the earth today 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12,000 years old? No. Did we see it happen? No. But we believe the things that are written in the scriptures through faith. Now let's read what's on the left-hand side of the screen. The most basic principle of our scriptures is faith. Faith has been a necessary requirement from the beginning of time. However, and this is where some of us believers, this is where we go wrong. Faith does not require ignorance on a matter. And your forefather Sirach told you that. How many of us Israelites listen to that? It does not require you to be ignorant on a matter. The Most High gave us the ability to go back and observe certain things within his creation that we could see right now that lend credibility to the story of the creation in the scriptures. We have the ability to do that. There's evidences out there to do that. And you don't have to be ignorant of it. And the Bible does not tell you to be ignorant of it either. And we're about to deal with that. We did not witness the creation, but through study of the creation itself bears witness in itself of a creator. That's our luxury. The world tells us that that's a disadvantage, but that's our luxury. The Bible already tells us that our attendance is based on faith. We know that. We admit that openly. So now we have faith in the matter, and we go back and we find the evidences to prove our faith correct. Modern science, they don't have that luxury. They mock the Bible and the story of creation in favor of theoretical sciences. And these theoretical sciences are inherently problematic, as we are about to see. Let's go to the next slide. Problem number one. Science is rooted in confirmation bias. Now let's read what I wrote first, and then we're going to look at this picture. The powers that should not be have already rendered the Bible evil. That's what we hear every day. The Bible is evil. They've rendered the Bible a fairy tale. Yeah, none of the people in the Bible existed. It's not real. And they've said the Bible is anti-science, among many other things. This is taught in schools. And as a result of this doctrine, atheism is on the rise. The problem is, this is where the problem is. Removing the Bible does not explain the origin of the universe. It don't. The formation of the earth, that's not explained by removing the Bible, and the beginnings of man. So once you remove the Bible, now modern science is charged to explain these things, which leads to confirmation bias. What is that? Confirmation bias is a cognitive bias where people have a tendency to search out or interpret or even recall information in a way that reinforces pre-existing beliefs. So now there is a pre-existing belief. And see, when the people call us religious, the problem is that much of modern science is religious. They come in with a pre-existing belief that evolution, as is taught in school, by way of natural selection. And I want you guys to listen to my verbiage very carefully. The name of Darwin's book, I'm still kind of paraphrasing it, but it's evolution by way of natural selection. That's different than evolution itself. I hope you guys know that. But if not, you're going to learn that today. So in school, they teach Darwin's theory of evolution by way of natural selection. That's what they taught. That's their pre-existing belief, which is a religion. And then they interpret all sciences, quote unquote, that they find in their research around that pre-existing theory. That's what they do. They say that that's what we do. That's what they do. Because when you actually look at science itself, it debunks the theory of evolution by way of natural selection. It is debunked in itself. But they don't care about that. They don't care about that. And they cannot rely on faith the way we can, because our book says that we have faith, but they mock faith. So they have to have an answer. Faith cannot be a part or a component of what they teach. They have to have an answer. So what they do, they'll give you an answer, even if it's a wrong one. And then mock you. Okay, let's move on. Now, let's start here. It's the book of 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 20. I need you Israelites to pay attention, because some of you brothers and sisters are under a spirit of sorcery too. So we're going to remove the spirit of sorcery concerning this scripture right now. This is the book of 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 20. O Timothy, keep that which is committed to thy trust, avoiding profane and vain babblings and oppositions of science, falsely so called. So what happens is that you have some within our community. I'm focused on our community right now. You have some within our community that say science is evil. That's what they say. I don't deal with science. It's evil. It's the white man's science. You're correct in some ways, but here's a problem. Let's look at that scripture again. It says, avoiding profane and vain babblings and oppositions of science, falsely so called. The verse itself is letting you know exactly what the science is that Paul is speaking against to Timothy. But somebody may have missed it. You're looking at the English and you're just not sure, which is why we have lexicons today that we can go back and look at to show us what the underlying Greek word is. So let's look at it. This is the book of 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 20. You guys, that's why I told you guys in Clubhouse, you might want to come over and look. You might want to click the link at the top of the room, because I'm telling you now, I'm showing you guys a lot of stuff. When you look at your screen, the word there for science in the Greek manuscripts that our English Bible comes from is the word gnosis. Gnosis. That's the underlying word. Is that dealing with modern science today or something else? Well, let's find out. First, let's look at the outline of biblical usage, right? And you guys will see that the word gnosis is translated right there. It's on your screen in the King James Bible as knowledge 28 times. The word gnosis means knowledge. The word gnosis means knowledge. Now let's go back and let's look at 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 20 again. What does it say? O Timothy, keep that which is committed to thy trust, avoiding profane and vain babblings. What is the profane and vain babblings? Things that are opposite to what Christ taught and what Paul taught. And what was going on is that Timothy, when you start from 1 Timothy chapter 1, verse 1, Paul left Timothy in Ephesus to put the church in order. And one of the things that was going on was there was a lot of vain and profane babbling that was going on in Ephesus. That word and oppositions of science, these vain babblings and these oppositions of science was knowledge that was opposed to what Christ was teaching. It had nothing to do with modern science. It has nothing to do with evolution. It has nothing to do with reproductive science. None of that stuff. What it's saying right here is that there is a doctrine that Christ taught, that Paul continued in the churches, and you have a group of people in Ephesus that are teaching something opposite of that, because the word gnosis is the word in the Greek. It's dealing with knowledge. Does everybody see that? I want that to marinate for a second. It is not speaking against science. Don't let nobody fool you with that. The conscious community be saying that dumb stuff. You see Sonetta quoting the scripture. He's out of his mind. No disrespect. That's my man, 50 grand, but he's out of his mind. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Neither does Brother Reggie. Neither does Brother Uncle, any of the other niggas over there. You don't know what you're talking about. Period. Now, watch this. Let's go to the next slide. Next slide is going to really bring and drive the point home. You're going to get it. You're going to get it. We're going to go slow. I may not get through this whole thing, but we're going to make sure that what I do show you guys today is effective and you're able to understand it and you're able to show this video to other people, or you're able to take notes and you teach it. Let's go to the next slide. Watch this. Check this out. Now, what I did was I went to the etymology dictionary and I looked up the word gnosis, right? In the Greek. It goes all the way back to the Greek. We're just going to make it real simple. The word gnosis means knowledge. Just like we saw on the Blue Letter Bible website, it says the word gnosis means knowledge. When you come to the etymology dictionary, it says the same thing. You guys can see it right there. It says the same thing. That's two witnesses right there. Now, you might be asking yourself, hey, self, so if it says knowledge, if the word gnosis means knowledge, why did the translators translate it as science? Well, because when you come to the same etymology dictionary and you type in the word science, what does it say? It says the act of knowing. Translation, the word science and the word gnosis are synonyms. They're synonyms. They mean the same thing. So the translators did not make a mistake. That is a lie. They had a choice of many words they can use to express the same sentiment. They could have put the word gnosis there. They could have put the word knowledge there, or they could have put the word science, which is the one they chose there, and they all mean the same thing. The underlying thing that was going on in 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 20 is there was a knowledge that was vain and profane, that was in opposition to Christ, that was being taught in Ephesus, and Paul was speaking out against that, not against reproductive science knowledge, like man, you know what I'm saying, sperm meets the egg, so forth. He wasn't talking against that. Where do people get that? That's crazy. And that's from a lack of not studying. But guess what? A lot of our friends and co-workers and family members, they believe the Bible is literally speaking against science, and it's not. It's not. Let's move on to the next slide. This is something else you should know from the same etymologydictionary.com. I didn't want to get too far into this, so I didn't put a whole bunch of information in this PowerPoint on the subject, but I thought you brothers and sisters should know. I looked up the word Gnostic on the same etymology dictionary. So let's read what that is. Gnostic, believer in a mystical religious doctrine of spiritual knowledge. So what was going on, brothers and sisters? I'm just gonna bring it home for you. I can do a whole lesson on this another time. Gnosticism was heavy in the first century. It was heavy. In those same areas where Paul established all those churches, in those same areas where John in the book of Revelation chapter 2 and 3 is writing to all those churches, you know what was in that area at the time? Gnosticism. Big Gnosticism. What is Gnosticism? Gnosticism are first century, quote unquote, I got my air quotes up, Christians that had their own Bible, right? You guys can Google the Gnostic Gospels. These are things that oppose the Gospels that we have in our Bible today. Oppose it. This was going on in the first century. And they have their own counter history, the Gnostics, that go against the Torah. And the problem was, just like it is today, you had a lot of people in the first century that started off with Yahushua, started off with Paul, started off with the 12, and then they heard these Gnostics teaching something contrary to what the apostles taught who actually walked with Christ, contrary to what Paul taught who actually was taught by Christ. And you know what happened with the people? I'm confused. I don't know what to do. I'm confused. I don't know what to believe. Just like today. You got brothers that are teaching this stuff. It is as clear as day. It's the truth. And some of you brothers and sisters, within the sound of my voice, you dibble and dabble in other stuff, and you don't know what to believe now. You are just like your forefathers, just like them. The same, hey, that was which was written 4 times for our learners. The same thing that was going on in the first century is going on now. That's why I be so harsh when brothers be quote unquote leaving the truth, like I'm supposed to cry because you left the truth. No, you just like your forefathers in the first century. You're supposed to leave. You're supposed to break out. You're supposed to be like, I don't know what to believe anymore. That's your lot. I'm sorry. I know it sounds harsh. That's your lot. Just like it was their lot in the first century. So what was happening right here, let's go to the next slide, is Paul's writings wasn't against so-called science as we know it today. That's not what he was talking about. That's not the context. The context is it was against a spreading heresy, which was against Christ, and that was Gnosticism. I hope everybody understands. Why did I go through all that? Because we have to explain, because now we're going to have to go into some science. You can't let nobody tell you, well, because you believe in the Bible says don't deal with science. The Bible does not say don't deal with science. The Bible literally is telling you not to get into that Gnostic antichrist doctrine that was spreading in the first century, because the underlying word for science in 1 Timothy 6 and 20 is gnosis. Does everybody understand what the hell I'm saying? I hope so. If not, you might want to rewind this video when it's done and watch it again, because we're moving on. Okay. This is a famous quote that's attributed to Albert Einstein. Science without religion, we don't like the word religion, but we understand the context of the statement, so we're not going to get bugged out. Science without religion is lame. And religion without science is blind, meaning real science, as we know it today, goes hand in hand with the Bible. It walks. We're going to see this. I don't want you to believe it. We're going to see it. It walks hand in hand with the Bible. You can't have one without the other. There's no contradiction. But modern science, as it's taught in schools, is the problem. That's where the problem is. Because it deals with confirmation bias. And when the evidence shows that modern science is wrong, as in the case of evolution by way of natural selection, they don't give a damn. They still teach it to your children anyway. Okay, let's move on. This is a good book, guys. It's a good book. You guys can go on Amazon if you want, and you could grab this book. Very, very good book, written by a PhD. Because I ain't got a PhD. I ain't got a master's. Damn it, y'all. I don't have a bachelor's. So please don't listen to me. I don't know a damn thing, according to the world. The name of this book is called That Their Words May Be Used Against Them. You know, I always give the family some good resources. The name of the book is called That Their Words May Be Used Against Them. That's the front of the book. It's by Henry M. Morrison. I just want to read the back of the book. I took a picture. I know it's a little dark or whatever. Y'all forgive me. I took a picture of the back of the book. I just want to read what the back of the book says, just the first 2 paragraphs, so you guys could see what's going on in this book. Right? Oh, excuse me. Let's read the title of the book again. I'm sorry. I missed the bottom part, which is the most important part. The name of the book is called That Their Words May Be Used Against Them. It says quotes from evolutionists useful for creationists. Why is this important? Why am I showing you guys this book? You see where it says at the bottom, quotes from evolutionists? So a lot of people in the early stages of evolution, over the first 100 years where evolution by way of natural selection was something that was widely taught, right? You had a lot of people that were in that field, that questioned the theory from the gate. And a lot of these scientists that were in that field from the beginning wrote papers that were published that we have access to today. And within their works, when you actually dive into a lot of their works, which we don't have to do that. That's why, praise the Lord, the Most High puts a spirit on this Edomite to write this book so we have access to it. But when you dive into their works, a lot of them within their works are questioning the very theory that they were pushing. Like, well, you know, I do push it, but really that over there don't make no sense. Now, you don't have to go through 100 papers by 100 different scientists, which would equate to, I'm sure, to thousands and thousands and thousands of pages of reading. You don't have to do that. This book helps you do all of that. He does all of that for you. He correlates all the quotes from people that believe in evolution that are telling you by their own quotes, but it is faulty. Translation, confirmation bias. We can't deal with faith, so we have to say that this is true, even though we have all these problems with the theory. That's what's going on in this book. It's a good book, I'm telling you. Now let's read the back real quick. It says, if you're looking at this on a small phone, you may not be able to see it, but I'm just going to read it to you. It says, in sifting through the in silting through the shifting sands of evolutionary thought, one can be forgiven for feeling tangled up in a plethora of conflicting statements. So he's letting you know that there's a lot of conflicting statements when it comes to evolution, right? And he correlates all of them in his book. A very great secret kept from the public is that evolutionary scientists are far from unanimity when it comes to naturalism. There are so many competing theories that collide. How can anyone call evolution more than a theory, right? But it's taught to your children as a fact. And you're mocked and told that you're stupid for not believing it, yet the evolutionists themselves, when you correlate their statements and put them side by side, they don't agree. They don't agree. Next paragraph. This vast storehouse of quotes compiled by Dr. Henry M. Morrison and divided into sections gives much more food for thought to those confused by evolutionary theory. Each of the 15 chapters are useful for defending creation against evolution and explaining origins. These relevant quotations bring to light the fatal weakness of the entire structure of evolution, inadvertently exposed by its own promoters. Did you guys hear that? Let's read it again. This relevant quotation bring to light the fatal weakness of the entire structure of evolution, inadvertently exposed by its own promoters. Meaning the people that were promoting evolution, brothers and sisters, are the ones through their papers that have been published, are the ones that are debunking it. What is that called, brothers and sisters? We just went over it. Let's go back. What is that called? That is called, brothers and sisters, confirmation bias. That's what I told you. That's what I told you. It's confirmation bias. The very people that promote the theory in their published writings are telling you the theory is trash. But they got to stick with it. You know why? Because they don't have faith at their disposal like we do. They tell you that faith is a weakness. No, it's a strength. Because now you don't have to have all these conflicting statements that argue with each other from the very people that are supposed to be promoting the theory. Hope everybody understands and sees what I'm showing y'all. Let's move on. So, my sister here has a question. She says, I always heard that if you believe in the Bible, you can't believe in science. I'm confused. She said, I believe in the Bible and I believe in science too. Is there any room for a compromise? The answer is yes. See, Israelites understood science too. Watch this. This is the book of Daniel, chapter 1. We're going to read verses 3 and 4. It says, and the king spake unto Ashpenaz, the master of his eunuchs, that he should bring certain of the children of Israel and of the king's seed and of the princes, children in whom was no blemish, but well favored, excuse me, and skillful in all wisdom, and cunning in knowledge and science. Daniel was amongst these children, as we know. But let's look up that word science in the Hebrew, because we saw it already in the Greek. It's gnosis. But what's the word here in Daniel chapter 1, verse 4 in Hebrew? Well, we look at the Hebrew word. The Hebrew word is madai, or as they say in the modern Hebrew, madah. And when you come down and you look at the definition of what the word madai means, it means knowledge. Just knowledge. That's it. To know things. That's it. That's it. It's literally the same definition as in the New Testament. It's okay to know things. Okay? So no, the Bible never spoke against knowing things. It's what you know and you promote that becomes the problem. Are you promoting a theory that you know is problematic like the evolutionists are doing? Or are you promoting the truth? That's the question. That's where the demarcation line is, brothers and sisters. Let's move on. And by the way, just so we're clear, Daniel was not a white man, right? On one side of your screen, you guys can look at these are the Russian icons real quick. Daniel was a black man. That's from the Moscow school in Russia. That's the prophet Daniel. And on the right-hand side of your screen, brothers and sisters, that is from the Russian Orthodox Cathedral of St. Matthew. And you guys can both see the images. Same thing. Daniel, black, right here, the hat on his head. And in the fiery furnace are the three Hebrew boys, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and they're all black. Afros and all that. Okay? That's just an aside, because people say we be making everybody black. Well, somebody painted these images 500 years ago before there was anything as, as a black Israelite. Somebody painted them black. So you go ahead and you explain that. I know why, but since you say we make stuff up, you explain to me why the images prior to there being black Israelites, why they're black images of the prophets and the apostles. I need somebody explain that to me. And if you say that it was in a fire, you got to explain to me why the fire did not catch the halo above Daniel's head. You got to explain that. And why his garment is still red. You got to explain that. And why the edges of his hat that he's wearing is still a gold color. You got to explain. Why didn't the fire catch none of that? That's just the dumbest thing ever. Let's move on, though. Let's move on. We're not talking about this today. Okay. So, again, there's no conflict with science whatsoever because science just means knowledge. The Hebrew word is madai. Okay, let's move on. We understand that. Now, let's go to our forefather Solomon. Now that we know that the word knowledge is madai, what type of knowledge did King Solomon have? This is the book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 7. And we're going to pick it up from verse number 17. Right? And by the way, before we do that, let's look at the image that we have right there. There's an altarpiece in Spain today that goes back over 500 years. It's called La Maestra. That's what it's called. And on that altarpiece is an image of King Solomon, which you guys are looking at. And you just look at the scroll he's holding and look at his face, look at the crown and look at his face and his hands. And you tell me. So we saw Russia. Now we see Spain. Somebody got to explain this black image too. Did a black Israelite do this back 500 plus years ago? Did he do that? Just let me know. I need to know. Anyway, This is the book of wisdom. And these are Israelites, by the way. So when people say, I don't know if the Israelites are black or white, let's go ahead and let's do some DNA and everything like that. Well, somebody 500, 600, 700 years ago knew that these people were black and painted them such. But anyway, Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 7, verse 17. For he have given me certain knowledge of things that are, namely to know how the world was made. So the Most High caused Solomon to understand how the world was made, which is explained in Genesis chapter 1. The question is, did Solomon, in his state at that time, when this was being recorded, did Solomon witness that? No. So how did he know? Because the things that were in existence in his time that he studied confirmed what was written in the scriptures already. So he had faith in that he was born the son of David. So we already know he believed in the Most High. He had faith in the scriptures. We understand these things. So the faith came first. And as he got older, he prayed to the Most High for what? Everybody knows. He prayed to the Most High for what? So he said, give me wisdom. Not riches, not anything else physical. Solomon prayed for wisdom. And the Most High gave him that. And in that wisdom the Most High gave him, and he was able to study certain things, and that knowledge of certain things, he understood that was written, what was written that he already believed was true. And that's us today. Nobody's asking anybody to be simple and unknowledgeable. Nobody. For he hath given me certain knowledge of the things that are, namely to know how the world was made. He didn't witness it, but he was able to understand it. And it was correct. And the operation of elements, the beginning, ending, and midst of times, the alteration and turning of the sun, the changes of the season, the circuits of years, and the positions of stars, the nature of living creatures, and the furies of wild beasts, the violence of winds, the reasonings of men, the diversities of plants, and the virtues of roots, and all such things that are either secret or manifest, them I know. I read that kind of fast because we're going to break that down a little bit. Let's go to the next slide. First thing that Solomon said the Most High gave him outside of knowing how the world was made was the operation of elements. Today we have a periodic table with all the elements on the periodic table that we're given, right? Well, Solomon said he understood what these elements were and how they operated. That's science. So how in the hell could the Bible be anti-science and Solomon saying, I know how that works? Oops, sorry. Let's move on. Now, give me 1 second, y'all. 1 second. I just want to make sure that sometimes these things get a little wacky. I want to make sure that okay, good. So let's pick it up from I'm going to skip this slide for now for the sake of time. And I'm going to go into something else. Let's go to the next slide. Now, all right. I want you guys to look at your screen. You could go to any website and get information. It doesn't really matter. But what I wanted you guys to look at it, but with this particular website, is from the University of Berkeley of California. And if you guys look right here at the left-hand side of that, it says the Museum of Paleontology. So we're getting down in it. Paleontology is a discipline in the scientific world, right? Paleontologists hold a very, very, very major role in the scientific world. We'll get into that another time, but it's a very important discipline, right? I wanted to show you guys this because this is where the scientific community, the modern scientific community, runs into problems. This is where they run into problems. See, as I just mentioned, let's go back a little bit. As I just mentioned, see, Solomon did not witness the earth being made. When the elements came together and the earth was formed, he wasn't there to witness it, but he understood it later. He understood it later for it to be true. The problem here that we have is that this university, this Museum of Paleontology, they're holding themselves to a way different standard that we have to be held to, as we're about to read. Let's go to the next slide. They tell you science has to be observed. So their entire theory of creation is out the window. It must be observed. See, ours, we have faith in the scriptures. And then we go back and we do the work to test our faith against information. And it checks out. That's what happened with Solomon. With them, not so. Theirs is based on observation. Let's read it. It says, testing hypotheses and theories is at the core of the process of science. They have to be able to test things and observe it within a test for it to be true. Any aspect of the natural world can be explained in many different ways. Translation, they don't agree. It is the job of science to collect all the plausible explanations as to use scientific testing to filter through them, retaining ideas that are supported by the evidence. And there's a lot of sciences they don't have evidence for, like evolution by way of natural selection. They don't have evidence for it. I'm going to show you. And discarding the others. You can think of testing as occurring in two logical steps. If the idea is correct, what we expect to see, and two, does the expectation match what we actually observe? And that's the crux of it right there. That's the crux of it right there. They must observe these things. Science, literally, modern science says you have to observe something for it to be true, right? So if you don't observe it, then it's still theory. And much of science by way, evolution by way of natural selection has not been observed and never will be, because it is a lie. And that's why I showed you that book. The evolutionists know this, but they push it anyway. They push it anyway. Let's move on. Evolution debunked in 3 minutes. Watch.
You hear this one a lot. Science has proven evolution, therefore evolution is true. Since evolution is true and Christians don't believe it, then Christians don't believe science and they aren't rational people. Really, let's put that claim to the test. First off, evolution in the sense that things change is evident. No rational person disputes that. Therefore, rational.
I want to slow this down. We got time today. I'm going to repeat what he just said. I'm going to play it again. Evolution, in terms of the fact that things change, is a true science. I agree. It's a true science. I'm going to demonstrate that for you guys. But evolution, as opposed to what is called something, well, you know what? I'm just going to let the video play. I ain't going to give it away. Just pay attention. Pay attention.
Yes. First off, evolution in the sense that things change is evident. No rational person disputes that. Therefore, rational Christians believe it. We can observe change, but evolution in the sense that life came from non-life and then that life began to randomly generate new genetic information and over time it eventually produced humans is something entirely different and something that quite honestly doesn't hold up against science. In other words, evolution in the sense of molecules to man is not scientifically plausible and therefore should not be viewed as scientific fact. Quite honestly, it is in great opposition to science, that is, observational science, the kind of science we can test and repeat and use our five senses to understand.
Right. Observational science means that you can use your 5 senses. And remember, I told y'all either last week or the week before, the Hebrew language is based on the 5 senses too, as well. Let's go.
Science demonstrates that over time, living organisms lose genetic information. They don't gain it. That same science demonstrates that life doesn't arise from non-life. Follow along if you would. Fact 1. There is no known observable process by which new genetic information can be added to an organism's genetic code. None. That pretty much refutes evolution right away because there's no way to go from a fish to an amphibian with it.
Right. Pay attention to what he's saying. I know the video is going kind of fast. I'm going to bring it back because I need you guys to understand. I'm going to explain it first. In order to go, there's a theory in science, which we're going to get to shortly, where you have what's called a single cell organism and evolution by way of a single cell organism. But in order for a single cell organism to evolve into something complex as man, new information has to be added every time that you move up the evolutionary chain. The problem is they've never observed that. They've never observed that. Why are we going over all this stuff today? Because when we get into Genesis chapter 1, they can't use none of those arguments because we're deconstructing them now.
Follow along if you would. Fact 1. There is no known observable process by which new genetic information can be added to an organism's genetic code. None. That pretty much refutes evolution right away because there's no way to go from a fish to an amphibian without adding new information, right? If living organisms cannot produce new genetic information, how can anything gradually change into something of higher intelligence or form or complexity? That is, how can anything evolve from an amoeba to a man without adding new genetic information?
That's your single cell theory right there. This is actually taught that we evolved from a single cell amoeba all the way up into man. Crazy. Let's go.
The answer, of course, is that it can't, plain and simple. Now, some have speculated and they've imagined all kinds of things, and they brought in artists to produce creative renderings based on guesses, and they have been
Okay. I know I keep stopping the guys. It's okay, because he's preparing you for something.
man without adding new genetic information. The answer, of course, is that it can't, plain and simple.
Now, watch this. I want you guys to pay attention. I'm going to give it to you so that it doesn't slip by, so you guys are ready for it. He's going to tell you artists have come along within the last 200 years and sketch certain things that are taught to your children that were fake. I'm going to show you. Watch.
Now, some have speculated and they've imagined all kinds of things, and they brought in artists to produce creative renderings based on guesses, and they have been successful in telling a very convincing story that humans evolved from ape-like creatures. But those are just drawings, people. They're just stories.
Right. They're just drawings. I'm going to show you.
But what we really observe is humans are humans and apes are apes. Now, if fact one buried evolutionary thinking deep into the Precambrian soil, this next fact, fact two, tosses so much sediment on it that not even the greatest team of paleontologists with the latest subterranean gizmo could dig up the remains. Check this out. Never, again, never has it been observed that life can come from non-life. So here are two major scientific evidences against evolution. I reiterate for clarity, life has never been observed to come from non-life, and there is no known, observable process by which new genetic information can be added to the genetic code of an organism. So molecules to man evolution doesn't really make scientific sense. Yet we are all here, and life is all around us in various forms. Although evolution cannot account for this, the Bible can. The Bible reveals that the all-powerful, all-knowing, supernatural God created the heavens and the earth out of nothing, and all life according to its kinds, that is, each with its own set of genetic information. So, again, what the Bible reveals makes sense of what we see and understand. Evolution does not. Enough said.
And that's the point I was trying to make. What the Bible says, we understand now by just looking at the information, and we can realize that the theory of evolution by way of natural selection is trash. You coming from a single cell amoeba to man is trash, because how do you create all this new genetic information? How do you do that? You can't. You can't. Science itself tells you can't. And these are the problems that the evolutionists were having amongst themselves. Like, wait a minute, but how? But you know what? Who cares how? Put it in the children's books and teach it to them. And then we get to this devil right here. Remember the video we just watched? He was talking about artists that were brought in to draw things. We're going to read it. We're going to talk about that now. This man introduced one of the biggest pseudosciences that we have today. Anybody know who this guy is? I'm not looking at the chat. I'm not going to come out the PowerPoint to see who gets the right answer, but I'm going to give you guys this on YouTube. Anybody that's listening within the sound of my voice is on YouTube. Who knows who this guy is? If you know who this guy is, put his name in the chat. Let me see who knows. Does anybody know who this guy is? Holding the skull in his hands, damn Grim Reaper. Does anybody know who that guy is? His information is taught to children still today. Hey, y'all, you go to some of these schools that are like have bad budgets, right? Like in our communities, some of the textbooks in our children's schools are like 50, 60 years old. So unfortunately, what's actually in these textbooks comes from this guy. And these things have been roundly and soundly debunked. Yet, your children are still taught this stuff anyway. Because it's all about indoctrinating. The educational system is about indoctrinating your children. And that's why when you graduate from a 12th grade, you get a degree, which goes into masonry. But that's another subject. Then you go to college and you get a degree, which is all goes into masonry and stuff. It's about indoctrination. It ain't about education at all. Did anybody get the right answer yet as to who this guy is? I'm wondering. I'm not going to look at it. I'm just wondering. All right. The bell went off. Time is up. Let's go. This guy's name is Ernst Haeckel. Ernst Haeckel. He was one of the biggest proponents of what the video was just teaching us. And this is a rendering of that teaching. The single cell evolutionary theory, which is anti-biblical. It's anti-Bible. You have the single cell that evolves through all these different stages. And the last stage is Homo sapien, as they call it, or man, right? Except science teaches us that you cannot have something as simple as a single cell organism that takes on new genetic information and evolves into man. That is impossible. I don't have this in this particular presentation, but mutations within cells have to take place. Mutations are usually not beneficial. They're usually detrimental. When cells mutate, that's usually a bad thing, not a good thing. 8 to 9 out of 10 times. So to believe in single cell evolution from a single cell organism to man means that you believe that all the mutations that take place in cells are all positive and beneficial. That's impossible. It's impossible. Just by understanding what mutations are. When you have cancerous cells, those are mutations in your cell. Those are detrimental, not beneficial. This is impossible, but the Bible already told you that. Book of 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 38 to 40. But God giveth it a body as it had pleased him, to every seed his own body. All flesh is not the same flesh, but there is one kind of flesh of men, another kind of flesh of beasts, another of fishes, and another of birds. See, the Bible already told you this. Before the theory of evolution, before Ernst Haeckel and his like came about, the Bible already told you this. They said, to hell with the Bible. To hell with that. We have our own theory. And this is what we're going to teach. But as time has progressed and people are going back and looking at the work of guys like this, it doesn't stand up. It doesn't stand up. Let's move on. So we have a little article here that we have to read, guys. It says, please read me. So we're going to go ahead and read this article because this information I'm presenting is new to some people. Let me just do a time check, make sure that I'm okay for time. I'm okay for time right now. We're doing good. All praises. So we're going to go ahead. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I already have the video already up for you guys. Oh, yeah, I do. I sure do. Isn't that right? Sure do. Okay. I'm introducing you guys to Ernst Haeckel, who is a fraud, and everybody knows it. Everyone knows it. Let's read about Ernst Haeckel and why am I going through this? Because the guy in the video, he was talking and he's saying a lot of things, but you didn't know what he was talking about when he said, and the artist came forward and drew some pictures that kind of lend credence to the theory of evolution. But when you actually look at the work, it was trash. You may not have known what they were talking about. I'm going to show you. It's Ernst Haeckel. It's him. Let's read about him. This, by the way, so you guys know what you're looking at. This article, Ernst Haeckel, is from Germany. So this article is from Germany. This is a German, I want to say like a magazine that deals with nature, or a journal that deals with nature. And this is the English translation of that, right? Let's start right here. It says, Haeckel was accused of committing fraud in order to give credibility to his theories. Is there any truth to the allegation, brothers and sisters? That's what we were talking about. These guys, because they don't have the luxury, they say it's a weakness for us, but it's not. Because they don't have the luxury of faith, of the scriptures being correct, and us now being able to use the information we have to show that the Bible is right. They don't have that, right? They have to make stuff up. So evolutionists, scientists, across the board, across time, for the last 200 years, have been saying this guy's a fraud. And his fraudulent drawings that he drew was because he couldn't actually prove his point. So he drew something and put it out there. And they put it in your children's textbooks that your children are still learning today. Let's read. Haeckel came up with the theory that let's read it again. Haeckel came up with a theory that considerably shaped the science of his day. He called his theory the biogenetic law, also known under the catchphrase ontogeny recapitulates phylogeny. Ontogeny recapitulates phylogeny. I know that's all some Latin mumbo jumbo, but I'm gonna tell you guys a secret. Those of you that have been following me for the last 10 years know I had to put the conscious community over my knee and give them a spanking, specifically Reggie and Shaka, on this topic, right? And Ankh on this topic, because They had what's called an evolutionary conference. They had an evolutionary conference. Let me hold on a second, y'all. Let me come out. Let me stop for a second. We all right. We got time. Let me see if I can find the video. Let me see if I can find not the video, but the flyer, right? And I went crazy when I saw the flyers. These guys don't know what they're talking about. Let me see something. I might not be able to find it, so we're gonna go back to the article if I can't find it. But I want to see if I can find it because I did a video and it was so bad. Here it is. Yup. Oh, praises. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and share. Hitting that right. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. Yeah, God is good. Wait. Hold on a second now. Oh, you know what? I'm hold on now. I don't even have to do that. Hold on a second now. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. All praise to the Most High. God is good. Hey, watch this. Watch this. This is when I be in my bag. Sometimes I'll be ready to because these guys talk a lot of stuff, right? And I don't say a lot, but when I come out, when I'm quiet, it's usually because I'm studying you, and I'm gonna get you in a minute, right? So look at this right here, real quick, right? So these guys did something called an evolution conference. You guys see that? Right, they did an evolution conference, right? So, like I said, some of y'all wasn't watching me 10 years ago, so you don't remember this. But well, not 10 years ago, it's about now 8 years ago, right? Some of y'all, saying I just learned about you in Clubhouse, I just learned about you recently, but I always go in, right? So these guys did this thing years ago, right? And so I watched it and I did a whole video. Of course, I laid in the cut, I did a whole video debunking what they were saying with what I'm going into today. And it was so bad. Sonetta called me and told me it was behind the scenes, it wasn't on camera. Reggie and Shaka were fighting based on what I did. Because I went in and I was chopping these guys up with this information because it's trash. It's trash. Okay. Enough about that. Let's come back to hold on a second now. Where am I? I'm confused myself. Let's come back to this article right here. So there's something called ontogeny recapitulates phylogeny. These guys didn't study what this was. They didn't study it. I did. And I know it comes from Ernst Haeckel. So I went in and I did a whole video chopping these guys down because from this ontogeny recapitulates phylogeny, it's also called the recapitulation theory. First thing is first, before we do that, they tell us, you Israelites, all you do is read the Bible. You don't study. I don't know who you're talking about, but the brothers that surround me and me, myself, everybody knows that's all I do. That's why I don't have a life. That's all I do. So I'm not only going to tell you what it is, I'm going to tell you the name of it, where it comes from, and who came up with it. How about that? It's called ontogeny recapitulates phylogeny. It's also called the recapitulation theory. It comes from Ernst Haeckel. This devil right here on your screen. Okay. Now that we got that out the way, and by the way, real quick, let's that's why you guys have to be looking at the PowerPoint on Clubhouse, right? I'm hovering over this image they have right here, right? You guys see what it says right there? It says Haeckel's textbook illustration. These are his embryo illustrations as taken from his 1868 book that he wrote. I can't read German, so I don't know what the hell that says, right? It's ontogeny recapitulates phylogeny, right? Now let's keep reading. His idea was that the development of individual embryos, i.e. ontogeny, goes through the same stages as the history of species, which is phylogeny. This intricate relationship between the individual and its species would reveal the interconnectedness of all life on planet Earth. Let me break that down because somebody doesn't quite understand what it is that I'm trying to explain to you. Ernst Haeckel faked some drawings and he drew embryos. And what he did in his embryos was he made all the embryos look alike and said, see, this proves evolution because all the embryos at a particular stage in the development in the womb, whether it be of animals, whether it be of humans, all these embryos look the same, which proves evolution is all interconnected. You guys see what I'm showing you right here? It's fake. It's fake. He faked that. He drew that and it was fake. Hope you guys understand that. I was going to read more of this article, but I really don't want to, because there's much more to get into, so I'm going to come back to the PowerPoint. Right? Real quick, before I do that, I'm going to stop No, you know what? I'm not going to stop. Let's come back to the PowerPoint. We're just going to keep going. So the single cell theory and ontogeny recapitulates phylogeny is trash. Let's move on. So now, and I'm causing trouble again. That's okay. That's what I do. What is the recapitulation theory, which I kind of went over it already, guys? And who is Ernst Haeckel? This is the recapitulation theory. I want you guys to pay attention. This is from Ernst Haeckel's drawings. I ain't going to read all this. A lot of reading. I ain't going to read all this. But this is what Ernst Haeckel drew, right? The top row is what Ernst Haeckel drew. He was saying that when you look at the embryos of all these different organisms, they all look the same, which proves evolution. But actually, the bottom is how the embryos look at that same stage in the womb. It was all a lie the whole time, right? We're going to move on from that. Look at the screen right here. This is important, guys. Again, at the top of the screen, this is Ernst Haeckel's fakes that he drew. Right here. Why did he draw this? Because it was all about pushing the theory of evolution. It didn't have to be real. I just want to push the theory. So look, the embryo of a fish, the embryo of a salamander, the embryo of a turtle, the embryo of a chicken, the embryo of a rabbit, the embryo of a human, all look the same because we all evolved from a single cell organism. This is what Ernst Haeckel did, brothers and sisters. You guys can do your own research on this. All I'm doing is I'm setting the table and I'm serving you guys the food. Y'all got to go eat. I can't give you everything. If you guys want me to do a whole PowerPoint on evolution and really I'll go into it. I'm setting the table and I'm putting the food on the table. You guys got to serve your own food and put it on your plate. This is what Ernst Haeckel did. However, through the use of technology, they were able to go in and take pictures of embryos in all these same species. And what did they find when they actually were able to go into and look at the species of these pregnant species, right? What did they find out? The embryos at the bottom, this is actually how they look under microscopic images. They don't look alike at all. You guys see that? At all. At all. So the theory of the recapitulation or ontogeny recapitulates phylogeny is a lie. This is what I was teaching you from the beginning of the lesson. They will go at any length to push evolution. Damn be the facts. That's what they've been doing. So we're going through all these because these are the stumbling blocks that's in place of people that's on the fence. Let's keep going. Now, this part of the lesson is going to be review for some and new to others. I need everybody from this point of the PowerPoint to pay attention. Did you know that there's two types of evolutions that's spoke about in science? One is called microevolution and one is called macro. Do you guys know that? If you've been on Clubhouse, you've been hearing me a few months ago arguing with people over this. What is microevolution? Survival through the inheritance of favorable characteristics. In other words, a single cell organism taking on more genetic code, which the video showed us, that's impossible. That's a lie. What else does microevolution need? It needs mutations in cells that are beneficial, meaning it makes the outcome is better than what you were before. Mutations don't do that. They don't. Mutations are usually harmful on a cellular level. They're usually harmful. And then, of course, there's natural selection, right? That's microevolution. Macroevolution is something different. That might be a new word for some of you guys. It's the progression of biodiversity through geological time, aka speciation or extinction. Now we're getting deep. Dick Gregory's like, what is this about? What's this? We're gonna break it down. Don't worry, family. I got you. Let's go. Let's come back. So you have microevolution and macroevolution, right? Real quick. Just give me 1 second. Mistakes in here, don't worry about it. We build it as we fly. All right. Okay. Oh, excuse me. Hold on a second. All right, let's go ahead. Right. Now, there's something called speciation. Now, I ain't going to get too deep into this. I'm going to kind of probably speed through some of this for now. There's something called speciation. Speciation helps us understand the story of Noah's Ark a little better. This is where it's going to get it's going to get deep, brothers and sisters. But I'm telling you, what I said at the beginning of the lesson, I have to go through this because these things exist in the real world where you dwell. And you're going to have to give an answer. You ain't going to be able to tap dance. You're not going to be able to do the Michael Jackson moonwalk. You are going to have to answer people about stuff like this. The answer to these questions, the difference between macroevolution and microevolution, is what helps you answer the story of Noah's Ark. And this is the crux of why I'm doing this lesson before we go through Genesis chapter 1. It helps you understand Noah's Ark. Because for the people that against the Bible, Noah's Ark and the dimensions, listen to what I'm saying, the dimensions of the ark presents a problem for Bible believers. If you don't know how to answer it, it presents a problem for you. So we have to reconcile the problem. I'm going to try to help you do that today. Without getting too deep, I don't want to lose anybody. But the difference between macro and microevolution is the answer. Now watch this. This is the book of Genesis chapter 7, verses 13 through 14. Before we read that, I want you guys to look at the picture that's on the left-hand side of your screen. I want you guys to soak this in for a second. Where did you get this picture, Priest? I got this picture from Instagram, which means that it's circulating everywhere, which means that it's a question or something that people are pushing that's anti-Bible. If it hasn't come across your desk just yet, it will. So let's look at it. It's the Titanic. Everybody's heard of the Titanic, right? Leonardo DiCaprio did the movie The Titanic, right? The Titanic. So let's look at the dimensions of the Titanic and let's compare it to the dimensions the Bible says Noah's Ark is. The Titanic, and we're going to do it in feet because, for most of us, we're here in America. So we're going to do it in feet so that we understand it. The Titanic, according to its dimensions, as it's mentioned, was 175 feet high. According to the Bible, Noah's Ark was only 45 feet high. The Titanic, its length was about 882 feet long. Noah's Ark, according to the Bible, and its dimensions it mentions, was only 450 feet long. That's like 4.5 football fields, which is big. It's big. No, not even 4 football, because football is yards. So it's less than that. It's less than that. I got to do the math on that, but it's about 450 feet long. Now, we'll leave that there. I want you to look at the capacity at the bottom, because this is where the problem comes in. The Titanic had a capacity for 3,547 people and provisions for 3 weeks. That's what they say. Noah's Ark would have to have 50,000 plus animals, 2 million insects, 8 people, and provisions for a year. How do you have 50,000 plus animals in an ark that's only 450 feet long? How is that possible? That's not me asking that. That's atheists asking you that as an Israelite. If you're in the streets as a teacher, somebody asks you that, what you going to do? What you going to say? That's the question. That's the dilemma. That's the reason why we have family members and friends that are on the fence. Like, I want to believe in the Bible, but this Noah's Ark thing is a problem. How did you fit all the animals that are in the world on that ark? It was only 450 feet long. It's actually a good question. The Bible answers it, though. Many of us just read right past it. This is the book of Genesis, chapter 7, verses 13 and 14. In the selfsame day entered Noah and Shem and Ham and Japheth, the sons of Noah, and Noah's wife and his 3 wives of his sons with them into the ark. They and every beast after his kind. That's the answer. It didn't say every beast. It's not what it says. It says every beast after his kind. That's important. And all the cattle after their kind. And every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth after his kind, and every fowl after his kind, and every bird of every sort. Let's break that down. Noah did not bring every single species of every animal on the ark. It's impossible. Just look at the dimensions. That's not possible. He brought the kind, aka the archetype. After the flood, through the process of speciation, which we do that today with dogs, we breed them. That's why we have species of dogs today that didn't exist in antiquity, because we breed them and create different species. We do it with cats, we do it with chickens, we do it with pigs and everything else. The swine is not the same as the pig that you have on the farm today. The pig on a farm today is a different species, a domesticated species of the swine. The chicken you have today is a domesticated species created by man of another bird. I hope I'm not losing y'all. This is the answer to the people that's on the fence. The Bible does not tell you Noah brought every single species. It doesn't say that. It says after his kind. That's the archetype. In the beginning, the Most High created the archetype of all these animals. And then through a period of through a process of speciation, whether it happens naturally or whether man intervenes, you have other species that are created. But when the Most High was going to destroy the earth, the Most High had Noah bring on the species or the kind, the archetype of each animal, not every single species of every single animal. That's impossible based on the dimensions of the ark. And the Bible tells you. That's why it says after his kind. It's right there. After the flood, the process of speciation took place. We observe the evolution of different species of a particular archetype. This is observable to the human eye and makes the story of Noah and the ark more realistic. We observe the speciation of different animals because we realize for you to have a Rottweiler, somebody came together and put 2 different breeds of dogs together, and that's how you have a Rottweiler. Somebody came and put 2 different breeds of dogs together, and that's how you have a pit bull. Those are not the archetype. Those are not the archetype. Those are mixed breeds. Most of your cats today that are domesticated are mixed breeds. The chickens that we eat today are man-made. That's not the archetype. I'm gonna, you know what? Let me stop talking. Let me just keep going. Here we go. There we go. Those that are from the Caribbean or from tropical islands, you already know this. The chicken that you eat today is not the archetype. That's not the one that was on the ark. That comes from the jungle fowl. How many of you guys know about the jungle fowl? Why do you guys think? Well, first of all, let me ask y'all a question. Let me check the time. Let me ask you guys a question. I want you guys to put it in the chat. Listen to the question. I want you guys to put it in the chat. Brothers and sisters, y'all know anybody from the Caribbean? Anybody Jamaican, Bajan, Trinidadian? Y'all know anybody? Hey, what do they call chickens? They don't call it chickens. Put it in the chat. What do they call chickens? Who knows? Put it in the chat. What do the Caribbean people call chickens? They call chickens fowl. That's what they call them. Do you know why? Because your chicken that you eating today, when you go and pick it up from the supermarket, is a subspecies of the jungle fowl. What, y'all thought chickens was on Noah's Ark? No. The archetype was on Noah's Ark. And afterwards, the archetype was domesticated by man, and we have a domestic version that we call a chicken, which is what we eat today. That's why, for those that are from the Caribbean, if they'll tell you, if you eat fowl don't even have the same taste as chicken. Those that know. Fowl don't even have the same, it has a more gamey taste than chicken does. They're within the same family, but the chicken is a subspecies. This helps us understand Noah's Ark. Yes, the dimensions are what they were, and the Most High brought the archetypes on the ark, the kind, not the subspecies that we have today. That happens naturally in nature or that man intervenes and does. I hope everybody understands. I know this is deep. That's why mostly I do these lessons in my academy and not open, because I know I don't want to lose nobody. But I think everybody's smart enough to understand what I'm saying. The Bible is real. And what I'm showing you is that, like Solomon, as we begin to go back and the Most High gives us knowledge, we understand that the Bible is true. The faith came first. We believe the Bible first. And then when we study, we're like, oh, okay, that's right. Oh, it was always there. It never said the Most High brought every beast. He said he brought every beast after his kind, the archetype. The Bible is right, not wrong. So this is from Wikipedia, the jungle fowl, right? Let's go to the last sentence. That's all we need. One of the species in this genus, the red jungle fowl, which is the archetype, which is more likely to have been something similar to what was on the ark. Listen carefully, watch this. One of the species in this genus, the red jungle fowl, is of historical importance as the ancestor of the domesticated chicken. You guys see that? Does Noah's Ark story make more sense to you guys now? Not the Christian, Salakia, the atheists, the scientific community, all these different communities will tell you, you can't believe the Bible. How could every animal, how could 50,000 plus animals, how could 2 million insects fit on the ark? Nobody said that. The Bible didn't say that either. The Most High said he brought the beast after their kind. That's the ancestor. That's the archetype. But later on, through a process called speciation, whether it happens naturally or man intervenes and does it, we domesticated chickens, and now we have a whole subspecies that comes from the ancestor that would have been on the ark. So the Bible is right. It's right. You guys don't have to be ashamed to say that. This is actual speciation, is actual science. These things occur naturally in nature, and we all know that man does it. You can look at dogs and cats and see that. You can look at pigs and see that. You can look at chickens and see that. It's real. And it's a science to do. There's a whole science behind speciating and domesticating animals. There's a science behind that. The Bible doesn't speak against that. That's real. So again, the jungle fowl would be the ancestor, and the domesticated version would be what you have today. And that answers those questions. See, what we're doing is we're taking all these arguments that they have off the table so we can go into Genesis chapter 1 with a clear mind. Let's go to the next slide. Another form of microevolution that's observable is pregnancy in a woman. You do realize that's evolution, right? That's why, if you've been paying attention the whole lesson, I said Darwin taught evolution by way of natural selection. That's something we can't see. We can't see a single cell organism evolving into something as complex as a man. We can't see that. But we can see the evolution of a fetus in the womb. We can see that. That evolution is real. And the Bible is not in conflict with that because we can see that, right? You have a fertilized egg, right? Then the egg divides into a 2-cell stage, a 4-cell stage, an 8-cell stage, 16. Then you have a blastocyte. From blastocyte, now you come into a fetus, 4 weeks, 10 weeks, 16 weeks, 20 weeks. You can see the evolution of the baby in the womb of a woman. And as the child begins to evolve from the fertilized egg into the fetus of 20 weeks, her belly starts to stick out more and more because the child is getting larger. The cells are what multiplying. The child is getting larger. So you can see the evolution of her pregnancy from month number 1 to month number 9. You can see that. Who argues against that? Was Paul telling Timothy, don't believe that? No, that's what I was showing y'all. No, that's not real. This is science, and we believe this. We can see this. We can observe this. The Bible is not in conflict with this. Our argument is the stuff that can't be observed because it's BS. You got to draw pictures and lie. That's our argument. Don't let nobody shame you. Do we not observe this evolution from a caterpillar to a butterfly? Do we not see that? Can we not observe that? This is microevolution. From one organism to the next, we can observe this happening in nature, and the Bible is not against it. It's natural. So, you have one evolution that goes from a single cell organism, right here on the right-hand side. And from a single cell organism, you get fish, right? You get salamander, you get alligators, you get horses, you get lions, kangaroos, man, monkeys, birds, and everything from one single cell organism. That is a lie. As opposed to something, right, where you can begin with a common ancestor like the jungle fowl, and you get different breeds of chickens that come out of that. Again, it can happen naturally in nature, or a man could go in and create a domesticated version as opposed, you're like the wild boar, right, that you see in Africa, right? Those are, then you have the domesticated pig, then you have the sow. These are all in the same family. It's a difference. It's a difference. That's something you can see. It occurs naturally in nature, and or man goes in and does that. But they're all within the same genus or the same family. Not like the single cell organism where you have a goddamn dinosaur and man in the same genus. That's insane. That's insanity. And that's what we speak against. Hope everybody understands. This is the book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 7, verse 1. It says, I myself also am a mortal man, like to all, and the offspring of him that was made of the earth. And in my mother's womb, you know what? Let me deal with this real quick too. And I know this is kind of an aside, but I still have a little bit of time. This is an aside. Let's read it again. I myself also am a mortal man, like to all, and the offspring of him that was made of the earth. I just want to dwell here just for a minute or two. Trying to find some good words here. We're having so many problems with some of our beautiful brothers and sisters I'm talking about the Israelite community, trying to convince you brothers and sisters to do better with your diet, to do better with flushes and cleanses and things of that nature and plants and just do better. Like you guys, there's some in our community that still joined at the hip, to the AMA, the American Medical Association, what they say, which is really a pseudoscience in itself. It's a beautiful scripture because Solomon said he's the offspring of him that was made of the earth. Within the earth are all the elements that are also present in the human body. Zinc, magnesium, you name it. All that stuff is in earth. It's also present in the human body. You have to keep reintroducing these elements, right? These minerals into your body. When your body becomes deficient in these minerals and these vitamins and other things, that's where ailments and sicknesses come in. That's why we're constantly pushing these things on you, brothers and sisters. Literally, the Bible is telling you, you come from the earth. Those elements that are in the earth need to be in you. And when they become deficient, that is where ailments come in. But as much as we're preaching this stuff to brothers and sisters in Israel mainly, you guys just are acting like you didn't hear that part. You want me to, like, can you talk about the white man? Can you talk about the white man being the devil? Forget about that. Talk about it. I'll listen then. We're paying. I'm paying attention to that stuff, guys. I'm paying attention to that stuff. I just wanted to throw that little jab in there. I don't care who's offended because you know what I'm saying, hey man, the truth is the truth. Am I your enemy because I tell you the truth? A lot of you Israelites are sick, right? You're going through all types of ailments. We teach you these things, and you turn the channel to go look for a video where we're saying the white man's the devil because that's more interesting. Anyway, back to the lesson. Verse number 2. And in my mother's womb was fashioned to be flesh in the time of 10 months, being compacted in blood of the seed of man, of the pleasure that came with sleep. So Solomon understood that you are in a woman's womb, and that happened because your father put his seed into that woman. The seed came into union with that egg, and that's where he comes from. He understood that. Brothers and sisters, that's reproductive science. Solomon is talking about reproductive science, not speaking against it, talking about it. Right? And we learned about it later. Science proves that to be true. None of us are in conflict with that. Right? Seed of man, you have the egg, you get the child. Simple as that. This is the book of Psalms, chapter 19, verse number 19. It says, the heavens declare the glory of God. So when we look into God's creation, because the heavens is part of God's creation, it declares the glory of God, right? And the firmament showeth his handiwork. The firmament shows the Most High's handiwork. Verse number 2. Day unto day uttereth speech, and night unto night showeth knowledge. So we have knowledge of the Most High. That's what I was saying earlier in the PowerPoint. By looking at the heavens, and looking at the firmament and looking at the creation in itself, it bears witness that what we believe the scriptures to say is true because the creation manifests that. It bears witness of it, and it bears witness that there is a designer behind the creation. Throughout the Bible, knowledge of God is compared to creation. The wisdom of God is compared, especially in the Psalms. The wisdom of God is always compared to something that's in the creation because it bears witness of a creator. I'm gonna stop right there. What I want to know, of course, brothers and sisters, you guys already know how I do. I want to make sure that what I went into wasn't too crazy, and I want to make sure that you guys understood what I was going into. If the lesson made sense, if you guys understood it, I need for you guys to put 1 in the chat and let me know that everything that I went into made sense. It's important. Right? I never want to go too far without brothers and sisters following along and making sure that what I was going into made sense. So if it did, just let me know in the chat. Okay. All right. I still have about another 15 minutes or so. So I have another 15 minutes or so, brothers and sisters. I want to, about another 20 minutes. I want to make sure that you guys are ready for the God First game when they come in. So with that being said, If y'all want me to, if you guys, I'm getting texts saying I should keep going. If you guys want me to go into something else real quick for 20 minutes, I want you. Now I'm gonna give y'all. I'm making it a little bit more difficult. If you guys want me to keep going for the next 20 minutes, I need you guys to put the fire emoji in the chat. You got to go look for that. I want you to put the fire emoji in the chat. Let me know. That means I should keep going and going to something else real quick for y'all. Touch on another topic real quick for y'all. If you want me to keep going, you got to put the fire emoji in the chat. If you don't put the fire emoji in the chat, I'm going to end the class right about now. I want to know if y'all want me to keep going. All praise to the Most High. All praise to the Most High. Okay. All right. Y'all don't have to yell now. I heard y'all. I'm going to keep going. All right. So let's talk about something else. We're definitely not going to get through this today. Let's talk about something else. This is something I talk about a lot on Clubhouse. The biblical canon. A look at how modern Bibles came to be and why some are the same and some are different. This is also a lesson I taught in my academy. I think I taught this only in the first academy. I don't even think I did this in 2 or 3. When I told y'all be thinking I'm tripping when I tell you I have 400 plus PowerPoints. Easy. Right? I'm kind of slowing down. I've been slowing down lately because I have to have a life at some point. This thing becomes too much. But I'm hoping that by me having sacrificed as much time as I've done to do these, that it's helping y'all. Because you guys get to see that what we teach when you're in Clubhouse or you're on the streets or you're watching the video, brothers teaching on the streets, you hear them say something. Now you guys have more faith and more credence in what brothers are saying because you've seen it with your own eyes. Like brothers ain't just talking. Like we know what we're talking about. Okay. 2 of the biggest arguments in the biblical arena is what are the correct manuscripts that should have been used to translate the Bible, and what is the proper biblical canon. This PowerPoint is a brief focus on the biblical canon, right? This is how most people visualize the Bible transmission. Like the Most High put a long arm out the sky, had a magic wand in his left hand and a Bible in his right. No, let me go back. He had a magic wand in his left hand and 2 tables of stone in his right and gave it to Moses. That's how most people envision the transmission. Like, no. There's a transmission of the Bible from the time of Moses and even from the first century with the apostles and Christ and Paul to now is a very complex conversation to have. But just like what we just went over for the last hour and a half, is equally important because people, there's all types of arguments about that. The Bible was tampered with and all types of stuff, right? Then when you start putting people on a hot seat, turn the daggone temperature up and ask them, okay, show me that. Now they can't answer it. Like, for instance, the test, I'm going to call it the S test, right? I ain't going to say the whole word because there's children watching. The S test that I give people when they say the Bible was tampered with, specifically the King James Bible, I give them the floor for 45 seconds to a minute. Tell me about all the tampers that went on with the KJV. And just watch them squirm. They cannot answer that because they didn't study it. But we did. And we're ready to have that conversation, although this is not what this PowerPoint is about today. Right, let's go on. This is more accurately how transmission works. This is the book of 2 Peter chapter 1, verses 20 and 21. Knowing this verse, well, let's read the first part. It says, God reveals his word to man. So the Most High revealed his word, started with Moses, and working his way all the way down. God reveals his word to man. That's the first process in transmission. Knowing this verse, that no prophecy of the scripture is of any private interpretation. Verse 21. For the prophecy came not in old time by the will of man, but holy men of God spake as they were moved by the Holy Spirit. So the Most High revealed his word to man. There's many processes of revelation we could talk about. We have on a very short time. Some of those processes are the Most High literally sent an angel and men begin to write things down. Some men, the Most High revealed himself in a dream and showed certain people certain things, like the prophet Daniel and others. The Most High sent an angel to Ezra, especially when you read the book of Esdras in the Apocrypha, he was dealing with angels. The Most High also sent an angel to Daniel too, right? And then there's some people that the Father dealt with directly, like Moses, right? Dealt with him directly. So there's, right? The Most High gives some people visions, doesn't matter, but the Most High reveals his word to man. That's where it starts. This is the book of Proverbs, chapter 21, verse 1. The next step is God moves man's to transmit and then translate. The transmission process comes in where the word begins to spread. You see that transmission process in the Torah when the king is told and commanded that he must have a copy of the law too. So it's spread to the king. It starts off with Moses, but then it's also that information is transmitted to the king, and now he has to make his own copy. And then the transmission process also continues because the tribe of Levi dwells in the coasts of all Israel, and they also have to have a copy of the law, so it's transmitted there. And then the transmission process gets more complex as we get to the New Testament time when Israel is scattered in many different areas, speaking many different languages. But the thing is that the word is transmitted. Then, after the word is transmitted and spread, as Israel begins to be in captivity under these other nations, and a lot of times, in a lot of cases, we also don't speak our native language, the word of God must be translated to these different languages so that these people also have access to the records. That's where you get your Septuagint under Ptolemy II from the Hebrew to the Greek. All these processes have to be considered. There's no long arm with a magic wand and some tablets or some scrolls that came down and gave us the Bible we have today. The word was revealed. The word was transmitted, meaning spread. Then the word had to be translated into languages like English that we have today. This is the book of Proverbs, chapter 21, verse 1. It says, the king's heart is in the hand of the Lord. As the rivers of water, he turneth it whithersoever he goes. So in the year, forgive me, I'm winging it now because I'm kind of just giving y'all, this stuff is all in this PowerPoint, but we have a short amount of time, so I'm just going to tell you guys. In this PowerPoint, this stuff is in here. So I believe it was the year 1604 or 1605. Let me go find it because I don't want to, somebody's going to be like, I don't believe you. So let me go find it. It's all right. So I'm going to help y'all. Mm-hmm. Here we are. So let's go back real quick. So slide number 30, I found it. Let's come back up. Real quick. Let's read that again. Proverbs 21, verse 1. The king's heart is in the hand of the Lord. As the rivers of water, he turneth it whithersoever he will. Right? So we're talking about the king's heart. The king's mind is in the hand. The Most High moves the king to do the Most High's will. The Most High moves man to do his will. In this particular case that we're talking about, the Most High is moving man to have his word transmitted and translated. Because God is not coming off his throne to do none of this. Man's going to do it. Now watch this. Let's come down to slide number 30. Slide number 30. And thus, brothers and sisters, if you guys are not familiar with this, you've learned it today. The King James Bible was agreed to be translated at the Hampton Court Conference. The Hampton Court Conference. Who moved for this to happen? God moved for this to happen, whether you believe it or not. And the date for it was November 1603. I see, I was about to give y'all wrong information. I said 1604, 1605, but I'm okay. Hey, I'm still better than most, man. I'll be in the area, but it'd be so much information in my mind sometimes. But it was 1603. So you learned something new today, brothers and sisters. The commission for the Bible to be translated happened in 1603, and the actual translation was completed in 1611. Who moved for this to happen? God moved for this to happen. This is how you get your Bible. There was no magic involved. There was a conference where people convinced the king this needed to happen for a whole bunch of reasons. Who moved those men's minds to talk to the king about this? God. Because there were problems with the Bibles that were before it. Problems with it. That's why I get into my whole textual criticism conversation. We're not having that right now. So let's go all the way back up to where we were and pick it up from here. Let's go to the next slide. Brothers and sisters, think about this. If the Bible was fake, as we're taught, why were the powers that be under the influence of the Vatican against the Bible being translated into every language? If it was fake, why would you care that it's being translated into every language? Why was the Pope, and it was Pope Paul, I can't tell you guys which one off the top of my head, I'm even going to do that to myself, but it was Pope Paul, I believe, that was the one that was against King James translating the Bible. And why was he against it? It's supposed to be fake. Who cares? Even better question also begs another question. Why were people being killed for doing it? It's fake. Why would you care if people are translating the Bible, if it's being disseminated? Why would somebody care if it was fake? Because it's not fake. That's a new argument. It's a new argument. It's a modern argument. Nobody back then thought the Bible was fake. Not in the 1600s, not in the 1500s. They didn't think it was fake. That's why they wanted to keep it out of the hands of the people. Watch this video real quick. Concerning William Tyndale. William Tyndale. The Tyndale version of the Bible precedes your KJV. And what happened was William Tyndale was burned at the stake. Right? King James's mother, Mary Queen of Scots, she was the devil that the Bible speaks about. I'm telling y'all flat out. She was the devil. If you don't know this history, you know, priests know. And now one day, maybe I don't think this is a Sabbath lesson to go into. Maybe I have to do this during the week or something. But his mother, Mary Queen of Scots, was the devil the Bible speaks about. First of all, for those that don't know the history, right? She had his father murdered, right? Because she was having an affair. First of all, she married him not because she loved him. She married him, you know what I'm saying? Remember, our marriages were arranged back then. So she had somebody that she actually loved, but that dude didn't really have no influence. But Lord Darnley, Henry Stuart Darnley, he had influence, especially with the Queen of England, which at the time was Queen Elizabeth I. He had influence. So that was a marriage of bringing two people together for the sake of keeping Mary being Queen of Scotland, because the people of Scotland wanted her out. Now I'm just teaching y'all. They wanted her out. So she married Henry Stuart Darnley to protect her throne, and he became regent king. But he wasn't really, you know, history books don't say he was king, but he was regent king by virtue of being married to her. After that took place and she got pregnant, she had him killed. She set his ass up. That's like watching something from the ID channel. She set his ass up. The man that she was actually in love with and sleeping with set his ass up and killed him. That's a fact. And that's the reason. And by the way, she was very loyal to the Roman Catholic Church. Very loyal. Right? I know I'm saying a lot, but I'm giving you guys some history. Henry VIII is the one that broke the Church of England away from the Roman Catholic Church. That's what he did. Right? But Mary Queen of Scots, she didn't like that. She was and Scotland also broke away from the Catholic Church as well. But when she became queen, she was loyal to the Roman Catholic Church and wanted to bring the Roman Catholic Church back under, Scotland back under the rule of the Roman Catholic Church. And the people wasn't with it. Right? So to make a long story short, a lot of people that were anti-Catholic, Mary was having them killed. That's why her nickname in history is called what, y'all? Bloody Mary. For a reason. She was having a lot of people killed. Right down to her husband, she had him killed. So people like William Tyndale that was having Bibles translated, he was burned at the stake too for going against the Roman Catholic Church. But why? All he did was have the Bible translated. Why? If it's fake, why? Because it's not fake. Watch the video.
William Tyndale was a brilliant man Proficient in Hebrew and Greek, his passion was to produce an English version of the Bible, a passion he would pay for with his life. Tyndale said,
"It hath pleased God to send unto our Englishmen, even to as many as genuinely desire it, the Scripture in their mother tongue."
His first English translation of the New Testament was smuggled into England. It was hotly debated among church officials who called it perilous and made for an evil purpose. By 1536, Tyndale was condemned as a heretic and given an opportunity to recant. When he refused, he was strangled and set on fire.
Engage with the Bible.
That's where you get your F word from, y'all. Y'all know what F word I'm talking about. That's where you get your F word. That's really what it means. It means to be burned at the stake.
Opportunity to recant. When he refused, he was strangled and set on fire.
Engage with the Bible in the courageous acts of its influence over the centuries.
Brought to you by Museum of the Bible, opening in November in...
Anybody that goes to D.C., that should be on your bucket list. Go to the Museum of the Bible. It's in Washington, D.C. That's a destination for me that I got to get to as well. Okay? So this is the book of Isaiah, chapter 28, verses 10 and 11. For precept must be on precept, precept upon precept, line upon line. Here a little and there a little. For with stammering lips and another tongue will he speak to his people. Right? Because eventually Israel will go into captivity under these other nations. And we would begin to start speaking the language of these other nations rather than our mother tongue, which was Hebrew. And eventually there would need to be a translation process to bring the word of God into the languages that we speak so that we can have an opportunity to hear the gospel and repent. That's the point. God was involved in all of that. Whether you believe it or not, God is involved in all that. The Most High is the architect of all of that. Did you guys know that there was a group in America in 1776 called the Bible Destruction Group? Did you guys know that? That's a real thing. Not going to read it right now because I'm kind of just coasting through this before I close out. When I do, if I ever do, I did this in my academy. If I ever do this on the Sabbath service, there's a book called To Eliminate the Opiate that kind of goes into this. Again, why would you have a group called the Bible Destruction Group if the Bible is fake? Why would you have set up a secret group to destroy the Bible if it's fake? Wouldn't you want it to spread? Because it's fake. And it's a very curious date, 1776. That's the same year they say America was founded, 1776. More on that later. I'm not even talk about that right now. So we're going to end it with this video right here. A brief history on how the Bible came together. No, there was no magic involved, no magic wands, no hocus pocus, none of that stuff. It's just like this.
The Bible, a book of books. Nowadays, the Bible is frequently printed as one book. But for more than 1,000 years, most people encountered the Bible as a library of multiple volumes or multiple scrolls. In light of this history, it's not so surprising that not all Bibles today contain exactly the same set of books. But if the Bible isn't always the same, then what do we mean when we talk about the Bible?
That's very important. I had to stop it right there for 1 second. It's very important because that's an argument that's on the table right now. When you actually look at the history of the Bible, certain canons have books that other canons do not. So the question then becomes, because I get this question a lot from people, well, hey, do you read the book of Jubilees? And do you read this and do you read that? That's why I put this PowerPoint together. Because there are some criteria that you have to set on the table in order to differentiate between what should be canon and what's not. What's not. We also get these people that come into rooms on Clubhouse with the same stuff. And we have to answer these questions. You brothers that are teachers have to be able to answer the question. Should you read Jubilees? Should you read the Apocalypse of Paul and all these other books that are purported to be books from the first century from that time? Are they canon or not canon? I'm confused. Well, that's what this PowerPoint was put together for. However, maybe my next academy, I'll actually go through this whole thing. My time is just about up, guys. I gotta get out of here because Mal and Corey are about to come in with their class, so I want to respect their class and allow them brothers to. You guys on Clubhouse should be transitioning over to the God First Gang room on Clubhouse as soon as they open the room up. So if somebody's asking when is it, it's at the bottom of the screen. The email is there. All the information from my academy is there. It's mainly for people that want to become a part of the body. If you are part of another camp, you have to respect your camp, y'all. You have to respect your camp and your elder. Like, I can't, this Israelite thing is sensitive, man. I can't have you in an academy and you in another camp, and then they like, I ain't even gonna say, but you guys can see this Israelite thing is sensitive, so I'm real careful about that. But the email is there. If you want to join the academy, you can just email us at the email that's going at the bottom of the screen, and the captain, Danyaahla, will get back to you. We're starting up September 17th. Y'all pray for me. Them academies be long and I be tired, but I be getting through them, man. It's a lot. Y'all pray for me for that. But yeah, we're starting September 17th, most high allows. So if you're interested in doing the academy, please email the email that's going at the bottom of the screen, and the captain will get back to you. All right. I just want to take a moment to say I appreciate, again, all you brothers and sisters for coming every Sabbath and listening in, and your kind words on the comment boards and stuff, that these videos are helping you guys. I hope so, because I put a lot of energy into doing this, and I wanted to be able to be help you brothers and sisters. So those of you that are here can be firmly rooted and confident that this is the truth, because if you leave the truth, I'm gonna talk about you like a dog, like I always say. You know what I'm saying? I also want to take time out to give a special shout out to the brothers and sisters that have gone to our website and donated, financially to us. It's a great help. It's a blessing. We need it. And I also want to. I know you guys probably want me to go through the rest of this, but I think we need to have some conversations about what's getting ready to happen soon. When I say soon, I mean soon. So I think next week, if it be the Lord's will, we're going to do some prophecy, because there are some things that are going on that might be going on right under some of our brothers and sisters' noses. So I want to make you guys aware of what's happening. I'm going to tell you guys something before I go. When Donald Trump was president, he removed the United States from the World Health Organization. He removed us, right? Now, first of all, I don't have no confidence in no politician. I'm just showing you. So there's some games being played, and it's being played in front of our face. We just have to pay attention. He removed us from the World Health Organization, right? When Joe Biden became president, he reinstated the U.S. to the World Health Organization. Why is that important, brothers and sisters? Because the World Health Organization made some very, very disturbing comments within the last 30 days that some of you guys may have missed. So I kind of want to bring you guys up to date with prophecy and what's coming, and prepare you for what's happening, because I don't want anybody, because the pandemic is not happening right now, I don't want nobody to get back to being comfortable. The next time something on that was a beta test. The next time something happens, brothers and sisters, yeah, it's going to be way worse, and it's going to be way more restrictive. You should be aware of what's getting ready to happen, because it's getting ready to happen, and it's not going to be good. That's just what I'm going to say. And you guys already know what I always say. I say demonstrations beats conversation every time. I'm going to show you guys next week just how, the Bible says the devil is going to come down. No, forget about that. Isaiah chapter 32 says the churl shall no more be called liberal, man. I'm kind of paraphrasing, but they ain't going to be no more. They're going to speak villainy, and they're speaking villainy right now. Telling you, just wait, and you guys will see exactly what it is I'm talking about, brothers and sisters. They got some diabolical plans. We're going to need Yahweh Shai. Just understand that. We're going to need Yahweh Shai, man. For real. With that being said, if you have been watching my video, you have not hit the like button, you have not repented, You don't believe the gospel, but it's not too late. Go ahead and hit the like button, share the video. Believe the gospel. Show love. Show the fruits of the Spirit to your brother. It's your brother, Priest Danyaahla, represent Lions of Israel, Maccabeestv. And with that, I say...
From 100. God had his hand on me since before the womb. I didn't know what that meant until I read the Bible. Amen. I didn't know what that meant until I read the Bible. He had his hand on me since before the womb. You think I started in the womb? He had his hand on me since before the womb. Like, oh, this is going to do this. He's going to make this happen. He's going to touch this person. He's going to touch these people. He's going to... Yo, I am God's child. I am God's child. I am God's child.
Yeah. The gyms are closed. I gotta get this aggression out. Let's go. I describe myself as cold with a conscience. Can't roll with the nonsense. Don't mistake the cover of the book for its contents. I might show you kindness, swim with the piranhas. Things that we forget tend to come back and remind us. Like we all have a past we want to put behind us. Designed to be good, but evil always seems to find us. A man can only change the things he acknowledges. Plus this beat is flame with skills over politics. Won't be the same. What really has me stressing out? The gyms are closed, so I can't get this aggression out. Before we get the promises, there must be offenses. The Bill Gates of hell won't prevail against us. They don't really want, but we speak it to them. They don't really want, but we teach it to them. They don't really want, but we give it to them. We got the whole package, baby. They don't really want, but we speak it to them. They don't really want, but we teach it to them. They don't really want, but we give it to them. We got the whole package, baby. Say my prayers. Thank God for blessing me. My life's an open book. Could that be why they're testing me? Maybe everything I do is done out of necessity. Stock is on the rise. I think you should invest in me. It's not strange. I'm money like blockchains. Except the things in life that I cannot change. Chant down Babylon. Payback is coming. I ain't LeBron James. You thought I came back for nothing? The game is canceled in the blink of an eyelash. Flow is sick. Grab your N95 mask. The new normal. It gets even scarier. All black and white. There is no gray area. Plain as day. We got the whole package, baby. Competition, their rhymes are all average. And that's my 16. Nothing else to say, y'all. 5G raps, find me under the radar. They don't really want, but we speak it to them. They don't really want, but we teach it to them. They don't really want, but we give it to them. We got the whole package, baby. They don't really want, but we speak it to them. They don't really want, but we teach it to them. They don't really want, but we give it to them. We got the whole package, baby. Bounce. The gyms are closed. I gotta get this aggression out. Let's go. I'm from the city, they say never sleep. People you can never please. Words of blue checks that Twitter gives celebrities. Sometimes it's commercial, sometimes herbal remedies. Guaranteed to be 100 like centipedes. I claim my innocence, although innocence. I ain't perfect, I'm trying to cleanse my innocence. Not alone, I'm assisted by some instruments. And when I'm done, I'm on to doing bigger things. No holes barred, take no prisoners. Aim for the sky, potential is limitless. Before we get the promises, there must be offenses. The Bill Gates of hell